Money doesn't just come from one place. It drips, trickles, flows, and floods into our lives in different ways. Welcome to Drip Trickle Flow Flood, a podcast that explores the power of multiple income streams. And we're really excited today because we have a very fun guest with probably one who does one of my favorite things, which is have a really adorable store. So Callie Berg is with us. She is the owner of Wild Hemlock in Anacortes, Washington. It's a Pacific Northwest gift shop and goods shop, and it includes some amazing handmade knitwear as well as Tony's book. So you'll be able to get a copy of his. But thank you, Callie, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And Tony met you in person. Is that correct, Tony? Recently, you stopped in the store, or have you known each other for a while?
No, we just met. So Lindsay and I will sometimes do these day dates. We'll drop off our daughter at school and then just go do something. And I often bring my books along, see if I can peddle them a little bit. And I walked into Callie's store, which had a different name at the time, even though this is just a few weeks ago. So we're going to get into that.
Oh,
and I saw the books on the shelves and just a feel. And I go, my book might fit in here. And she goes, yeah, leave a copy and we'll see. And then she said, yeah, bring it in. And so we went back on the Saturday before Mother's Day. That's what Lindsay wanted to do, was go to the farmer's market and walk around Anacortes. And I dropped off my books there. And it was Callie's new name day, I guess. I probably better way to rebrand, watching where we ran. And so we chatted briefly, but we've never really shared more than a couple of paragraphs worth of conversation. So I'm excited to learn more about Callie.
Well, now I want to know about this rebrand. Callie, can we start on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Saturday was our grand reopening. So with our new name, our name previously was Ink and Wool, because when we started, mainly what we had was screen printed apparel, which is the ink, and then knitwear, which is the wool. Turns out that is not common knowledge that ink is what screen printing uses. So we got a lot of phone calls, and we're almost 3 years old. So at the end of the month, we'll be 3 years old. So we started talking about this last year because we get calls asking if we do tattoos or ear piercing. People will stand looking at a t-shirt with the tag on it and say, oh, the t-shirts are made of wool. And it's like, no, they're not. It's the name of the store. But so it's too confusing for people, I think. So we're just trying to make it more straightforward. And we've really leaned into the Pacific Northwest theme more as time has gone on. So it was a better fit. So
that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
It's nothing like good feedback from customers, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's like
I would have never thought that by that name.
Yeah.
Amazing. And what did you do? I saw it a bit on your website, but if you could share with us, prior to opening the store, what did you do?
I've done many, many things. What really led to the store was my knitwear business, Isola Handmade. Isola means island in Italian. It's not my name. So I did that. I started that in 2014, and just doing farmers markets and, having an Etsy store. And then I worked my way into a website and all that stuff, but just selling mostly at farmers markets and doing some consignment, and then a tiny bit of wholesale with other retailers. So that was, so 2014. And then we opened the store in 2022.
So where's the entrepreneurial spirit come from?
Gosh, so I went to school originally for emergency medicine, and I was at EMT for a while. That's how I met my husband. And then I did phlebotomy for a little while because I didn't like waking up in the middle of the night. I didn't love that either. And while I was doing phlebotomy, I started doing my knitwear business. I've been knitting for 20 years. And I don't know, it was during that I just needed a little extra outlet. I was working part-time. My son was a toddler. So I was at home with him a lot, in between working a little bit here and there. So just kind of to fill in and give my brain something to do. And I just loved that. And every time I had to go to work to my lab job, it's like, I wish I could be at home working on this and this. And then between paying for daycare and all that, I just kind of phased out working outside the house and just started working inside the house.
So what's it like operating a retail business for everybody that has these visions of doing so?
Yeah, it is. It's intense. It is not for the faint of heart. It's not like playing store when you're a kid, turns out. I still love it. I mean, it's like doing a puzzle every day, and I love puzzles. So there's always something to figure out. There's always something that you can tweak or make better. Like listening to customers, because we work, my husband and I are the ones who mainly are in the store, mainly me, but it's a lot of sitting and, you talk to customers, but you're also just sitting there listening to what they're saying. You're getting their feedback constantly, even if they're not actually giving it to you. You're just kind of seeing how they're interacting with products and all that. So I find that really interesting. And then choosing things to stock the store with is super fun. That's probably the fun, like, I don't know, dream part of it. But then, there's all the other businessy stuff that you have to do too.
Well, that's a question too. I was actually just going to ask you about stock. So I'm glad you brought that up. And you said it's like the store itself is like a puzzle, right? Running
Yeah.
a boutique, like brick and mortar store. How do you decide what to stock? Because that's fun. I'm sure picking like what you like, but
Yeah.
you need to pick through the customer lens and then like managing all of that, like things that don't do well, things that do. So tell us a little bit about that, like how you handle stock of the store.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's definitely been a learning experience and learning not right away, but pretty quickly that not everyone agrees with me and what I think is cool. That's like, you got to throw that away right away. So like take your ego and just throw it in the trash. But I actually have a business coaching group mastermind thing that I started doing in 2023, which has been super helpful. And the coach really leans on numbers and looking at your sell through and all that stuff, which has been super helpful because then you can't really say like, well, I love that. But it's like the numbers don't lie to you. If people are buying it, you can't have it sitting in your store. And, it's a lot of overhead to have the brick and mortar, which makes it much more obvious that, like this can't stay, this has to go. And the whole like finding out who your ideal customer is and all that stuff. I feel like when we first started I just like fully glazed over when anyone talked about that. But having been with customers, you're like in there with them 7 hours a day, that has helped a lot just to see what people gravitate towards. And also really, and especially in the last couple months, is making the like story cohesive in the store, like not having it be a mishmash hodgepodge of things. Like Tony said, the walking in and seeing like, oh, I think the book would fit in here is like how we try to look at things like, would that fit in the store instead of just, it's handmade. It has to fit, it has to make sense to people.
Do you
Let's
think
talk
you're
about that a little bit. Obviously,
Okay.
people, maybe they've already pushed pause and are looking at your social and looking at pictures and things like that. But maybe they're just listening and they want to, trying to envision the store. Yeah. When someone walks in, what are they seeing? What they buy?
Yeah. So really, I guess what we want people to think of and feel when they walk in is the Pacific Northwest. We live in such a beautiful place here in Anacortes, and just the, Western Washington area is so beautiful. And we love to be outside. And so we try to bring in a lot of things that'll either books about being outside or books about adventures or t-shirts with, adventurous themes to them, anything like that. And then it's been very surprising how much people want things that say the name of the town, even people who live in the town. Because when we first opened, we thought, well, we don't want to be that touristy store. But then the locals want it too. So we
That's
listened.
interesting that the
Yeah.
local, because how much do you feel your location influences your revenue model? Is it that the tourism is really lifting things? Is it a lot of local businesses? Is it both?
It's definitely both. I would say the locals are definitely like our backbone of the store. Like if we didn't have the locals shopping down here, we wouldn't be here because the tourists are here, I don't know, 5 months out of the year, maybe just during the, summer and all that. But Christmas is our busiest time, holiday time, and that's the locals for sure.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned a bit earlier about just the types of stock that you have, and obviously overhead. So then margins can be tight in retail, period, not just
Yeah.
in your store, but just in general.
Yeah.
So moving a little bit into the diversification of how the store earns revenue, what kind of creative approaches have you taken in order to help those margins? Is it events? Is it like creating experiences with certain products? Walk us through a little bit of that.
Yeah. So we've just kept adding things that it didn't come out like this right away. So we've just kind of added slowly to what we offer. But we do, so obviously the retail side of the shop, and then we do all the screen printing for all the t-shirts and sweatshirts and stuff. So we also do custom screen printing for people. We've done a few fellow small businesses. We're a tiny little shop. I think our retail square footage is 500. So, and then we have another like about 500 in the back where we screen print. So it's a mini operation, but that definitely helps, especially during quiet times of the year. I teach knitting classes. We've done like some hat classes, and then we teach beginning knitting, which is super fun. And then we also have consignment. So it's, we buy a lot. We buy most of our stuff wholesale, but then we also do consignment with local artists and stuff. So yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. Man, I wish that I was a little closer to there because I need help knitting. I'm just a hopeless knitter. I just can't figure it out no matter what.
Oh, well, for any time will help.
So this was a big part of why I wanted to have you on the show is when I walked in the store, I saw this very diverse income streams. And that's what Drip Trickle Flow Flood is about, is creating these different income streams. And and some pieces are little drips. And then, but I could see your creativity. I mean, there's plants people can buy in there. You have the local stuff. We walked out the first day with a painting from a local artist of the Cascade Mountain Range to put in our Airbnb. And then I peeked in the back, and I haven't told you this. I used to have a screen printing business. And so I looked in the back, and tucked back in there is, you had a full press back there, and you've got a nice conveyor belt heater, and you're managing it in a pretty tight space. I'm, having a few more square feet to put the boxes and fold the shirts and all. I mean, when I walked in on Saturday, you had your shirt folder, and you were doing that.
Yeah.
But that was really what inspired me to want to have you on the show. Is, can you talk about, what that takes as a business to create those different income streams in order to survive in a seasonal business somewhat?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely all hustle. I mean, it's good hustle, but if you didn't like doing something like this, you would not do it, because it's like 24/7 all the time. You're thinking about it, looking at your numbers, all that stuff. So my husband actually does all the screen printing, and he is, in addition to that, a full-time professional firefighter. And that job actually lends very well to having a side gig, because they work 48-hour shifts and then they have 4 days off. So we definitely, especially during like peak seasons, he's like, I come home from work and I go to work. So, and luckily he really enjoys that too. So he's motivated to do it. But when it's like a print day, he'll print all day, and we're open 7 days a week. So if he's printing, I'm folding shirts, I'm tagging shirts. And we're, we don't have a ton of storage space either, like you said. So, we have to kind of balance, when we're going to do production and all that.
So percentage of your business, not to put you on a spot a little bit, but how much, and these can be round numbers, but how much is it that wholesale stuff? How much is it the consignment stuff from local artists? And then how much of it is the, maybe the apparel and the script?
Yeah, gosh, I would say like probably 50% is the stuff that we make. So the knitwear and the screen printed goods, and then maybe like 30-20 from like wholesale to consigners. We've been getting more and more consigners. Like the longer we're here and people wander in like you did, another person wandered in that same day and now we're selling his driftwood candle holders. So
Oh, I saw your post on that.
yeah, yeah. So it's super fun. Like you don't know what's going to walk through the door, and it's not always stuff we say yes to,
Yeah.
which is also hard, but it's just, I don't know, it makes it really fun and interesting every day.
Yeah, that's cool. So my wife and I used to have a couple hair salons, and the vision pre-child was to have my wife wanted to end up with just like a one chair, or maybe a two chair salon,
Yeah.
and the salon would be in the back and have a clothing store in the front. And, you have kids and
Yeah.
life happens. And so we never brought that vision to reality. But I love the fact that if you're going to be doing screen printing, you've got to do it somewhere. There's a
Right.
solid chance you're paying rent to do it somewhere. And so to be able to subsidize that rent or even make a profit off of part of that space while you're screen printing in the back, I think is super creative. And, in retail, there is a lot of time where there's no one in the store, right? So what do you do? Well,
Oh, yeah.
I guess you get to fold shirts, and,
Yep.
and so I like that creativity of, people that want to get into business and be an entrepreneur. It's like, well, how do you make the numbers work? And sometimes you just have to get really creative on how you're utilizing the space, how you're spending your time, those things. And you
And I
seem to
imagine
have,
that helps with marketing too, right, Callie? I mean, the fact that you have this customer base for screen printing, then you're always top of mind for when they need gifts or other types of things that might then like bleed into the retail part. So how much of that works into like your marketing? And then for those other folks who maybe want to open a boutique or have a boutique, like what are some kind of localized marketing efforts that you found to be most effective?
We are still kind of exploring what our best marketing as far as like paid advertising and stuff. But we do a newsletter every week, which we do pay for. We use Square for all of our everything, because once you start, then they're like, and how about this? And how about this? So, and it's nice to have it all in one place. But the newsletter has been really good. And you also can get numbers based on that. There's lots of data that you can see on the newsletter, as far as how much money it brings in. So that's been great, which, then it's all work. But it's not too terrible. You put some pictures in and tell a couple stories. But we also we had some for the old name, but we just took a new batch of glasses to a local brewery. That's how they get their glasses for the brewery. They have businesses buy them and bring them to them, and then it has our stuff all over it. Yeah, and this time we put a coupon on the back of it, so when people are, having a beer, they can go on the website and shop and use their coupon.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, we do, all the social media and stuff like that. And then other than that, we haven't done a ton of paid advertising.
So you're running this business a lot on your own, but otherwise with your husband. And I saw a picture of your son in there with you. So
Yeah.
talk about managing time and working with family and those pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. And we also have 3 employees that work part-time, just kind of filling in for us when we can't be there, and to have, somewhat of a life, because it could suck you in big time. So it's hard. It's good to have boundaries around all of that. Not that ours are great, but we try. We're thinking about that. But yeah, I work most weekdays. And during the school year, that's fine. We have a 13-year-old son. So he's at school, and now, he's got sports before and after school. So his day is pretty busy. And then the weekends, there's sports things. So that's when we mostly have our employees working, which is super helpful. And I do all the knitwear, which takes a lot of time and is not like the best. If you're going to try to have a business, don't just do it with knitwear, because you'll have to have really high prices. But so I'm always knitting. I take it if we go on a road trip, anywhere I am, if I can get away with it, I'm knitting. So that helps with that. And then we take turns too. My husband and I will take turns. Sometimes if he's printing, he'll print and try to run the shop just so we can do life stuff.
Yeah.
That's interesting, that dynamic of running a business with your spouse or partner.
Yeah.
How do you brought up boundaries a little bit. So how do you carve those boundaries when you're not in the store? Because it's like you can't, when you're an entrepreneur, you really can't turn it off. I mean, yeah we can, but it's tough. So do you have any like specific guardrails or boundaries that you practice at home, or how does that work?
Yeah. I mean, definitely my husband and I are always talking about it. And I'm sure my son is like, oh my God, I don't want to talk about the store. So we do try to, like, and there's just him. We just have the one. So it's pretty obvious if we're talking about that, we're like, and he's not into it because he doesn't like anything that we like, then he's like not in the conversation. So that makes it a little easier to, okay, we have to stop the work talk and have a family conversation at dinner or whatever. And yeah, like not having our computers out all the time. So it's also helpful. We'll do meetings with each other. My husband and I will do meetings, but we'll go out of the house to do it or try to do it when our son's at school or whatever. And then also just gives it a little bit of this is our time to talk about work or to work out, like plan the schedule or whatever. That's super helpful.
That was a very funny comment that you made, that your son doesn't like anything you like. My daughter will be 13 in July.
Okay.
And so I'm living that world. I'm particularly uncool right now.
Oh yeah.
And just that idea of, my wife and I are both entrepreneurs and we always have different things going on, and we'll be like, Harper, get off your phone. And she's like, well, you're on your phone.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, I'm working. She's like, well, then so am I. It's like,
yeah,
it is tough to set those boundaries and just say, okay, you've got to physically set it aside and move on, and, realize that there are other things, because it can be all consuming. And I can see this in myself, where sometimes I'll just go away mentally, and like people are like, well, what's he doing? And I'm off, I'm writing an article, or I'm at a construction project, or who knows where my brain goes, or I'm planning to start something new, or thinking about podcasts, and it's just like having those boundaries and having that time with your family it's a tricky balance, especially when you're working with your spouse. I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the future look like? You just went through this big rebrand. The store was packed when I was in there. I thought that was great. People
Yay.
buying things. You were explaining how to water a plant someone was buying, and so what's the future hold? Are you just did this rebrand, you can take a deep, let out a breath and coast, or are you okay? What's next?
So I think the biggest thing for us is continuing the communication with customers and just townspeople and stuff, that we're not a new store. We're still the same people. We're still here. I talked to a customer yesterday, actually, that had never come in the store before because she didn't know what it was because of the name. So it was like, okay, that's a good mark on us for changing the name. So continuing that. And then we have market season has started. We do farmers markets and makers markets. So we have a lot of those. It's like, I think, our busiest year ever with markets. So we're going to be hitting the ground running here in the next couple weeks.
So you go to the markets too? So,
yeah.
Wow.
So you have somebody running the store, then you're at the market?
Yep. Yeah.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. Yeah. That's how, I started doing markets, and even as a very much introvert, I cannot stop doing them. I love them. Just that one-on-one with customers, and they're interacting. And when we do markets, we just take the things we make, so that, I don't know, it's just awesome to be able to see people interact with your products, ask questions about them. People are so curious about knitting and stuff. And we've had some people sign up for classes being at the market and talking about knitting. So
do you do your classes in the shop?
we do. Yeah.
you move stuff out of the way? How's that work?
Yep. We move stuff out of the way. Yeah. So we have like big tables in the middle of the store that have, stuff display on them. So we just move those, and we actually, part of our remodel before our grand reopening, we put casters on the tables so we can just slide them now. So that'll be quite nice. But yeah, we have like a little knitting circle with some benches and chairs.
I love that. When
That's
we used to
super
own our salon Caribou, we designed it with events in mind. And so all of the stations were rolling toolboxes.
Okay.
And then we put a shelf along the whole side so that stylists could use it for their tools. But then for events, we'd roll all the toolboxes out of the way, and then people could put their drinks on,
Yeah, that's awesome.
outside of the,
Yeah.
and so that's cool. Again, that's,
That's
that
clever.
diversifying, you're using that space in so many different ways to bring in these different income streams. Your creativity is strong.
Yes.
And then, Callie, how much do you do virtual or online business? So is that a piece? Does that also make up a piece? Or would you say like most, if not all, is in person and at these markets?
It's mostly in person, like probably 98% in person. And I don't do a ton of, I don't put a ton of time into our website. That's like one of the things on the list for this year, but because there's room to improve for sure. And then, doing any kind of online marketing, like pushing the website. We don't do that very much, but it's definitely on the list.
Like a future revenue stream.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then do you have any type of like gifting piece of your business? So, I mean, it seems very gift worthy, of course, but you said you're very busy around the holidays. So what does that look like? Do you implement anything where people can come in and maybe you help them shop and basket it up, or like any of that? Or what does that look like, the gifting piece?
Yeah. Mostly people will put things together on their own. We had, just in the past 6 months, I would say, tried to work more towards like grouping products together that are complementary to each other, which has helped a lot, just as like visual marketing wise. And I would love to put baskets together. Don't tempt me with more. Sorry. I would love to do that. There's that. We've talked about it, but then it's like, where do we put it and all that? So
Sure.
Yeah.
The space, I understand, is
Yeah,
limited. And that makes a lot of sense. But I imagine just I guess the other half of that is like you have the gifts already packaged from you putting them together. Or like, is it something where, and maybe this isn't happening, but I've seen this in some other friends' stores where people will come in and say, like, I need to buy a gift for X, for my aunt, for my cousin, for my best friend. Can you put something together and like create the card? And like, so it's like almost a little bit of a concierge service.
Yeah, we haven't done that. We've done a few put together like knitting kits to make stuff.
Ooh,
closest
that's
we can
cool.
last, which is also a little hard because like, well, what color do people want? And they usually want to pick out their own color. And a lot of knitters like have all their needles already, so they don't need that. So we've tried, a bunch of different things there. But yeah, I've seen that and I would love to do that, to put things together. We haven't had a lot of requests for it though.
Maybe a future drip or trickle.
Yeah. Put it on the list.
Well, right. I understand the long, long list.
Yeah.
I guess the last thing that I think would be cool to hear from you about is, so on Saturday, and actually I've already written a blog post about this that I'm going to post here soon, is just the Anacortes business community seems so strong right now. We went to the farmer's market and then we're walking downtown and almost all the retail places have something in it. And it was the day before Mother's Day, so maybe there was a little extra, but you were doing your rebrand and you had cookies out and there were pop-ups at other shops. And, just that, if you could talk a little bit about being a part of that small business community.
Yeah, it's definitely, just in the past 3 years since we started has grown so much. And there's been a little bit of turnover. There's new stores, a couple new stores, and then new owners. It's crazy. It's great how much it's grown. And then we have the Downtown Anacortes Alliance. They've been around for a while, but they've really started to get their legs in the last couple of years, and they've been super helpful in revitalizing. We got certified as a Downtown USA town. I'm probably saying it wrong, like downtown America or something, which is great. And just the energy everybody has been awesome. There's the Downtown Alliance has done a few events that have been super helpful. Like they do Elves Night Out at Christmas time, which has brought so many people downtown. They do a little gift basket and businesses will put like a coupon in it or whatever. And then everybody will go around and check out all the shops and use their coupons. And then we have like Whale of a Sale in the summer. It's just been really good to get the locals and bring the community and the businesses together. Because I think there was a long time where people just weren't going downtown. There were empty storefronts, all that. So it's been a good past few years. It's growing.
Yeah, it's funny, sometimes you could see as, oh, there's another retail shop, they're my competition, but seems like retail can just kind of breed buying, if there's more places for people to stop into and,
Yeah,
then
absolutely.
there's a reason to go.
Yeah, for sure. And they're all so different. So all the shops are so different. And I really like the saying that a rising tide raises all ships. That really is how it works. Like if there's just one store downtown and everything else is empty, like, yeah, you're going to get all the business, but who's going to want to go shop in a town that's empty? So it's always better to have, there's always more. There's no limits on us.
And a perfect saying for being right on the water there in
Yeah, that's it.
I love this. Thank you so much, Callie. I loved everything that you shared with us today. We so appreciate you being here. And we'll make sure we link your store in our show notes so everyone visit Callie's store because you can order online as well. She has a lot of amazing things. So thank you, everybody. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review on your favorite podcast platform. And with that said, everybody have a beautiful rest of your day. We'll see you next time on Drip Trickle Flow Flood. Thanks, everybody.